Board of Commission meeting is called to order at 6 p.m. Nancy Hodges, our Commissioner, District 2, will lead us in invocation and Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. If everyone please stand. We're gathered to make decisions for our community. May we use our best skills and judgment, keeping ourselves impartial and neutral as we consider the merits and the pitfalls of each of the matter that is placed before us, and always act in accordance with what is best for our community and all our fellow citizens. The pledge of the flag, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Commissioner Hodges?
Here.
Commissioner Oakley?
Here.
Commissioner Doubtford?
Present.
Vice Mayor Weinstein?
Here.
Mayor Black? The record would show that the mayor called and she could not make it tonight, and her absence is excused.
Thank you. The next item is the approval of tonight's agenda. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
I'll
And a
second.
second? Thank you, John. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Hodges?
Yes.
Commissioner Doubtford?
Yes.
Commissioner Oakley?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Weinstein?
Here?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Oh. Well, I knew it. Yes, thank you. Got it. Our first item tonight is Lieutenant M. Scher for our fire department is going to come to the podium and read a proclamation honoring and remembering Don Steger.
Hello, Lieutenant Todd Ermsher, Madeira Beach Fire Department. Unfortunately, we're here regarding a present firefighter paramedic lieutenant that recently passed away. I'd like to have Jenny Steger and Zachary Steger please come up if you could. Don Steger started here in Madeira Beach back in October of 1981. He served 25 years as a Madeira Beach firefighter, and he retired in 2006, December. He started here back in Madeira Beach as a firefighter, and he was one of the first that were certified to become a paramedic. He rose quickly to the rank of lieutenant, paramedic, and once served as acting fire chief. He served on very many committees, including the EMS Advisory Board and also part of Madeira Beach Dive Team. Don Steger was a progressive role model and was involved in many innovative initiatives and was one of the department's first company officers. During this tender, he cared for, treated, and touched thousands of lives on many calls that he ran on. Therefore, Maggie Black, Mayor of City Madeira Beach, does hereby proclaim August 14, 2018 as Don Steger Day and encourage all residents and the community of the City of Madeira Beach to join in this recognition. And so, John, you want to bring up the flag? The city hung up a flag today to recognize Don Steger's years of service for the fire department. Unfortunately, he passed away recently at the young age of 58. So, Jenny, this flag is given to you on his honor and all the years of service for the city of Madeira Beach, and we're sorry for your loss.
Thank you very much, Lieutenant, and thank the family for being here and their friends. Lieutenant, are you going to do the next? Okay. Another proud member of our fire department will take care of the promotion of George Hill.
All right. Good evening. My name is Clint Belk. I'm the fire inspector here for the city of Madeira Beach. I'm here in lieu of Chief O'Neill, who could not be here due to previously scheduled commitments. I'd like to start by thanking Mr. Evans, the commissioners, Madam Mayor, city employees, and citizens for allowing us this opportunity to recognize one of Madeira Beach's own. Madeira Beach Fire Department recently conducted a promotional testing with the City of Seminole Fire Department for the position of Lieutenant Paramedic. We had very good candidates who participated in the promotional process, and unfortunately we could only promote one, but that one not only scored highest for our fire department, but second overall between Madeira Beach and Fire Department and Seminole Fire Department, which shows the knowledge, skill, determination, and dedication to this job this individual has. I'd like to add on a personal note, I've had the pleasure to work these streets with this candidate, and I can speak with firsthand knowledge of the job he will do for this community. With that being said, I'd like to congratulate George Hill for his promotion from driver engineer to lieutenant paramedic. Congratulations, Lieutenant Hill. Congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, Lieutenant Hill.
Thank you and congratulations, Lieutenant Hill. The next presentation is Lacey LaFave, who is the executive assistant to our city manager, who will be doing a presentation to Sand to Sea and Blue Research Group presentation on behalf of all our wonderful turtles. You're coming up, or is Kurt coming up?
Actually, Commissioner Santasi
Oh,
has a
okay.
brief
Sorry.
presentation they'd like to make to you.
Okay.
Good evening, City of Madeira Beach. Thank you for having us here this evening. We just wanted to, I am David Koski. I'm the co-founder of Blue Earth Research Group. And with me from Santa Sea is Andy and Danielle, as well as some other amazing volunteers that we have. We are very excited to continue the work that we have been doing with you as far as sea turtle conservation programs. So, to tell you a little bit about what we do, I'm going to introduce Andy, and she's going to go through some of the things we've been doing this year.
Thank you. Should we put the presentation in presentation mode? Oh, it is? Okay, awesome. Cool. So this picture is a lovely sea turtle. She is a loggerhead sea turtle, and I'm pretty sure this picture was taken on Madeira Beach, so she's one of our own. Loggerhead sea turtles are listed species, meaning that they are federally protected. And that's one of the reasons why we work so hard to conserve them, because there are threats that affect them every day. Florida happens to be one of the largest nesting density areas for this species, and I would say over 99% of the turtles that come onto our beaches in Madeira are loggerheads. So this is really what we're looking at. So the top left picture is a sea turtle nest. So we actually patrol the beach 7 days a week from about April to October. That's roughly turtle season for the west coast of Florida. And what we do every day is we look for new nests and we mark them off. So the picture on the right is a female turtle leaving a nest that she just laid. Usually they nest in the nighttime between sunset and sunrise, but once in a while we get lucky enough to see one during the day, like in this case. So when we do come across a nest in those morning patrols that we do, we mark it off, like you can see at the bottom right. And what we look for is we follow the tracks up to the area that she nested, and when she nests, she kind of fluffs up the sand to camouflage it from predators, and that's what we use, ironically, enough to be able to identify her nest and be able to mark it off. And we mark it off for a lot of reasons: to be able to correctly watch the nest over the time that it takes to incubate, which is about 2 months, as well as to make sure that, to keep it away from people walking over it, beach cleaners, that kind of thing. So it takes about 2 months, like I said, for a nest to incubate, and after that time we get hatches. So what we also do in the morning is we look for our nest to see if there are any signs of hatching. And if you look at the picture right to the left here, that is a really great example of a hatched nest where all the little babies went right to the water. And then about 3 days after it hatches, we actually go in and do what we call a nest excavation. So as you can see on the right, that's what we're doing. That means we go in and we count how many eggs are in the nest and how many hatch, that kind of thing. And what we want to do is be able to get a very accurate representation on how well that nest did, so we can predict how the population is doing in our area. So with the Blue Earth Research Group and Santa Sea, another thing that we like to do a lot is our education programs. So a big part of what we do is teaching marine conservation classes to people of all ages. We like to start with the children. That's a really great place to start for education. Start at the grassroots. And if they understand conservation and what's going on our beaches, when they grow older, they can maybe become more passionate about this. And that's one of my favorite things personally, and I bet the other volunteers can attest to this, is that sharing your passion with someone, especially kids, is so exciting and rewarding, especially when you see them when they really get into it. It's really something special. And then another thing we like to do, we just started this. We've been very excited recently to start to be able to partner up with the city of Madeira Beach. And this was taken a few weeks ago with some of our awesome commissioners here. And they recently adopted a nest on our beach. So just want to give another thank you to you guys. And it's been really fun being able to work closer with them. And we're also, this year, we're starting some of our public hatchling release as well as hatchling excavation, or nest excavation events, I should say. And that's something that we just recently got permitted to do through Florida Fish and Wildlife, and we've been really excited this summer to be able to start those programs. And we've seen a bunch of your guys' faces out there doing those this summer, and those have been really exciting. And the hatchling releases, we do a 30-minute educational presentation before we actually do the release to be able to educate the public, tourists, and everyone else on the beach about what we're doing and really get people to understand what kind of impacts they can make in their own lives, as well as when they're visiting the beach, to be able to help us conserve these species. And then just finally, I just want to give another thank you, and we're really excited to be able to continue our partnership in the future and continue helping these guys and continue our sea turtle conservation efforts. And just as a nice goodbye, oh, it doesn't look like it's playing. Can you play it? It's a really good video. We just took it a few days ago. Yeah, there we go. So these guys were found on the road. They were walking down West Gulf Boulevard, and we collected them, and they got to go right to the water that morning. So they had a lot of energy. It was really great.
That's great.
So, well, thank you so much.
I've got a question for you. I have a quick question. I just noticed on the news how the red tide is killing some of these turtles, and what happens, if it comes up the beach further and these turtles try to go out? Well,
Yeah, hatchlings are actually very negatively affected by red tide if it's in high enough concentrations. I know in some parts of the south part of Florida, I know Mote Marine Laboratory is actually caging those nests and then releasing those hatchlings out in the ocean. So those are kind of things that Florida Fish and Wildlife helps us plan on a need-to-need basis. So if red tide were to come up and cause a problem on our beaches, we would consult them and come up with a plan.
okay, thank you.
I have another question, but it's more for the public's edification, because I found it very fascinating when we had the opportunity to meet you all on site. It's not happenstance that these turtles nest on our beaches. Can you kind of explain that process? Because I think it's extremely fascinating.
Of course, that's actually a good point I should have hit on earlier. So sea turtles like really dark beaches. It's something I should have really specified. But yeah, so the darker the lights are, the less disoriented female nesting turtles will get. When they come on the beach, they don't always nest. Sometimes they turn right back around, and we've noticed that quieter, darker beaches bring in more nesting success and more nests laid. So we get quite a few false crawls every year. We're trying to lessen that. We want them to come on our beach and nest, not just come on and then leave. So darker beaches have been shown statistically to increase nest numbers. And Madeira Beach, we did have a decent amount this year on this beach. And we're just hoping in the future to continue increasing that number.
And to that point also, can you kind of hit on the part where when they basically imprint and then effectively come back? I think that's amazing.
That's another great point. Should have mentioned.
I was listening. You can stop paying attention.
So when the hatchlings hatch, that crawling time is very, very crucial for their development. These guys are most likely female. 99% roughly in Florida have been shown to be female because their sex is determined by temperature. So warmer beaches tend to have more females in the nest. And so if they are female, that imprinting time, that crawling on the beach, that's when we think that happens. That's what's going to allow them to be able to come back 30 years from now when they're adults and they are coming back to their natal beaches to nest, because they do come back to roughly 5 to 30 miles from when they were hatched. So that's also why when we do hatchling releases, we try to release them within a few, within roughly the same beach area as they were laid, because we want them to come back to that beach they were hatched from originally. Any questions? Yeah, of course.
Last thing that I want to say is we've given you a lot of information of what we do, but the reason that we are here is because we were asked to be here. And the city of Madeira Beach has approached us because this is a concern of theirs and it's important to them. So I just want you all to know that your city finds it vitally important, not only to care for Sea Turtle Conservancy, but also the health of the beach overall. So they deserve a big round of applause, and we really do enjoy working with them. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Now, who's going to do the presentation, Kurt?
Madam Vice Mayor, just a couple of really quick comments. So obviously the city's commitment to the protection of these creatures has now made its way from the beach into this chamber in the form of the city officially adopting a yet-to-hatch sea turtle nest on Madeira Beach. Included with this commitment is a $500 donation to Sand to Sea in support of their ongoing effort to inform and educate the public on the need to protect sea turtles. Also a special mention for the hard work of Ms. Lacey Lefebvre, Executive Assistant to Mr. Evans. Without her efforts to coordinate the schedules of numerous people, yourselves included, and synchronizing those calendars with the hatching of a sea turtle nest, which is not exactly an exact science, we may not be here today. At this time, I would like to ask members of the board and city manager, Lacey, and representative of Sand to Sea and Blue Earth Research Group to join us in the well for a presentation of the check and a photo.
Great effort. We're very happy to be a part of that. Very proud. I'm sure we'll all continue our support. The next item on the agenda, another presentation. The next two are for Jay Hatch. Thank you, Jay. And I think, Nancy, you should go up there. There's your Rotary. And this is the Rotary check.
All right, good evening, Commissioners. I have members of the Gulf Beaches Rotary Club here to give us a quick recap of the Gulf Beaches Rotary Carnival that was a partnership between the city and the Rotary this past year for the third time. So I'll pass it off to John, let him speak.
Thanks, Jay. My name is John Marr. I'm here representing the Gulf Beaches Rotary, our partnership with the city of Madeira Beach for our annual carnival. I wanted to come tonight and present the check to you. Before I do that, I wanted to mention the dates for next year. It's going to be March the 14th through the 17th. I can't say how much I appreciate working with Jay. It's a family-oriented event. We had a great year, and I thank Nancy Hodges as well. She's a member of our club. So without further ado, I want to present the check for $23,467 to the city of Madeira Beach.
Thank you very much, Jay and the Rotary. And now you'll do your next presentation. Thank you.
We have another presentation. This one, we had an event on July 14th. I apologize if I got that wrong, but July 14th, the city and Rock Park partnered to do an event called Rock the Barriers Special Needs Field Day. Sorry, and had a nice event out on the fields. Some of you were there in attendance, and I'd like to invite the Carnes family up as well. They have a check, and I'd love for Bill to have a few words on the event and kind of give a recap on their end as well.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you. Madam Vice Mayor, Commissioners, City staff, on behalf of my wife Diane, myself, and Rock Park, I would like to take time to thank you, as well as the recreation staff, Jay and your team, for teaming up with Rock Park for our Special Needs Field Day event on the July 14th. The feedback from the participants was absolutely incredible, and the day was a huge success, not only for those kids, but for us as well. We'd also like to take time to thank our sponsors for their donations to make this day possible. The City of Madeira Beach for letting us use the facilities, and the local businesses for their monetary donations, goodie bags, and materials in their time. With this support, we're able to present you with a check tonight for $5,000. We were able to raise these funds through all the local sponsors that we had, local businesses, so I give a hand to them. We hope that events like this can be held in the future so that we'll be able to continue to contribute to the city and assist in the maintenance of the park. Every dollar that Rock Park brings in gets put into the park. There's no salaries. All we do is continue to invest into the park and do some wonderful things for the residents in the city. And I wanted to give a special thanks to the Special Olympics folks that helped coordinate this. Some of the comments that we received were, this was the first event that the Special Olympics in the Tampa Bay area participated in, and the kids were able to do all of the activities. A lot of the Special Olympics, some kids are challenged that can't do certain things, so that was pretty special for us for being our first event. We'd like it to be an annual event. We'd like to grow the event, and I think if we could pick a day in the fall or the spring, I know Commissioner Weinstein and Commissioner Oakley were at the event, and it was a hot day, and July might be a little too warm to do this type of event, but if we could schedule something for the spring or fall, we'd like to do that. We've had so many other organizations reach out to us with special needs kids that would love to participate in this, and it can only grow from here. So it's not quite a Rotary Club check, but it is a check for $5,000, and we'd like that to be used to help maintain the park. And I thank you all very much. You have to find a big bank to take the big check. Thank you very much. Thanks, Jay.
The next item on our agenda for presentations is the parking machine update. Natalie Pick from KL America. Natalie's here. We'll do that presentation. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Natalie Pick with Calais America. The last time I was here, you had recently switched from pay and display and you rolled out the pay-by-plate meters. It's been 8 months and the project has been great. I wanted to take a minute to come back, give you an update where, what's going on with Calais, kind of talk about what your experiences are, see if there's any kind of changes that you would like to see, or kind of get your feedback as to kind of how the pay-by-plate has been perceived in the community. So Calais and a company called Parkion recently merged at the beginning of the year and formed a company called Flowbird. So now Flowbird is the largest parking meter provider globally. As part of that change, we have Scott Fox, who is going to be your new regional sales manager. Scott comes to Flowbird with 25 years of experience. Billy Noel has always been your account manager, and Billy's going to stay in that role. The Clearwater office, where we manufacture the Calais meters as well as manage all of the field techs for the meter operations, all of that is staying exactly the same. So I just wanted to kind of have a minute to get you up to speed and, I guess set your mind at ease that nothing really is going to change except this awesome new name called Flowbird that you get to do business with. So I wanted to take a minute and just kind of ask you for your feedback, or anything that you would like us to make changes on the meter. The nice thing about the meter and with this new configuration of pay-by-plate is really everything is configurable. So whether it is the message on the screen, or we do all of the decals for the meter in-house. So if there were any kind of tweaks or changes, I think the 8-month mark is a really good, kind of check-in, just to make sure that everyone's happy, that it's being, well perceived in the community, and that's really why we're here today.
Well, I've been asking for a brochure to be put out.
Okay.
And I think where we really need to see it is like in hotels. Mm-hmm. Like maybe even in their, the book that's in the room.
No, absolutely.
That all the merchants in John's Pass definitely need a stack of them to show people this is how you use the machine. I haven't really heard of anybody having issues with it, but that was my goal, to always get it into those places, because, the residents of Madeira Beach don't even need it.
Right. I mean, this is a tourist destination, and you
right.
want people
exactly. And we want it made easy that they know when they walk up, take a picture of your plate with your phone, and when you go up there, because that's what I see most people doing.
No, absolutely. So we partnered with the parking division and shared what other organizations have done. I think that the pamphlet is in kind of the last phase of being approved, and then once that is approved, they will be printed out and then given to the hotels, put in those, and then all of kind of the merchants and such in St. John's. So I'm thinking that that is supposed to be released and be completely approved and printed, I want to say in 2 weeks. So that's kind of the update and the time frame on that.
Nice, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm there at John's Pass a lot, and what I see, and I don't know how to fix it, is a lot of the senior citizens that go up there that aren't computer literate, they get kind of, wow, what do I do now? And they sit there, and I've seen some of them stand at those meters for 10 minutes trying to figure out what they're supposed to do and how they're supposed to do it and stuff like that. And I don't know of a solution. I'm just saying this is what I see on a pretty regular basis from the older crowd, more so than the younger crowd, like Nancy was saying. They don't know to take a picture with their phones and stuff like that. They're there to walk the shops and stuff like that. So, between that and I guess the only other real bad thing is the sun. Even if when the sun's coming in their face, they're having a hard time seeing the screen up there.
And so there are several things that we can do. So I think that with the pamphlet being put out and then being, I guess, kind of doing more education. So the parking division is also going to be putting a video of kind of how to interact with the meters on their website with the pamphlet. With the sun, so there are things that we can do with the color display. We actually find that the color display works better in the sun than the older monochromatic. Because everything is configurable, we're going to work with our programming team to tweak the colors of the screen so that maybe they can be, you can see them easier when the sun is kind of blazing, down. Another thing that we can do is in areas where we feel like maybe the color changes don't necessarily help, we can also try swapping out with just a kind of monochromatic screen to see if that will help the problem. The only other thing that we could do is maybe reposition the meters so that maybe they could kind of be at a different angle and see if that can help. So there's a lot of things that we're going to try to do, and we're working with the parking division, and then Billy working with our programming team to kind of make those tweaks so that it's easier to see them.
Moving the meter to a different angle really is, in my opinion, it's not going to do anything because the sun starts here and it goes all the way.
Right.
And so no matter where you move it to, the sun's still going to be the problem. I know you have no control over that, so.
Unfortunately.
Yes.
Right. Well, we're always glad to have the sun.
Yeah,
But,
that's true.
but with regards to your first remark, I had those concerns too, because I'm old too, and, I didn't understand them. But I've noticed in the last month or so, and I pay pretty much attention when I'm going through the village during the day, because I live right there, and I've noticed that if someone is having difficulty at the meter, it's the neatest thing. You'll see some kid come up to them, okay, and say, wait a minute, I can help you, and they do. And I have noticed that a good many times, so that's kind of a,
Well, and I think
good
that
thing.
as people get more and more accustomed to and used to the interaction with the meter, I think that we'll start seeing that even with the older population start to diminish. I mean, any time that you walk up to something you've never kind of, done anything with it, it can be a little intimidating. So I think that with the outreach programs that the parking division is doing, I think that we'll start seeing a lot less of that. But again, I think it's, the education, getting the message out there so that, things are readily available so that it's not intimidating when you walk up to the meter.
Thank you.
I think it might help too if more local people really knew how to use them.
Okay.
I've never used it, but if I walked through the pass and saw, or any of the parks and saw somebody using it, I would go help, try to get them through it, but I don't even know, because we don't have to pay to park, so they're kind of on their own with it. But I think if we took more of an initiative to get educated on it, as locals, I think it'd help the visitors.
I know when I was down at Indian Rocks and went down to their, and they have the meters also. I don't know if they're yours or not, but they have them like inside a little area. They built a little cage around them to keep the sun and all that kind of stuff for people. So that helped a little bit. So. I don't know what we can do.
Did you have a problem using it?
Huh?
Did you have a problem using it?
Yes. I'm illiterate when it comes to a computer. That's what I had my granddaughter there for.
Madam
well,
Vice,
see, you did have help.
Madam Vice Mayor, if I may, our public information specialist has provided, and I think we provided, and actually handed out to this board a draft on the parking brochure that staff is working on. Also, one of the things that we have at our disposal is the opportunity to encourage folks to download the mobile app. That is a easier way to effectively interact with the parking machines versus, going through the situation. Because I also frequent the pass a lot, and I can tell you one of the most frustrating things that you see is when someone gets to the meter, has not taken a picture of their license plate, or they're in a rent-a-car, or they, are new to the area, and they get to the machine, then they have to go back a quarter of a mile wherever they parked, get the license plate, come in, wait in line for a couple. So one of the concerns that we have from the city standpoint, at least from the interactions and the conversations I've had with the business community, how do we help facilitate that process and make it smoother? because what we don't want to do is make parking a frustrating endeavor for folks so they don't spend their money in the past. So we want to make it as simplistic as easy so they can get in there, spend their disposable income, and enjoy themselves, as opposed to worrying about, I've got to go back and forth, and then they're frustrated already to start off with.
You know, and it's a valid concern. The great thing about parking is you want it to be not memorable, right? So being able to do that. I know that when we rolled the pay-by-plate meters out, signage was a big part of that. And I think that just driving around, the signage that is in the city, in the lots, is actually really good. There's tons of signage, so I'm not sure if it's adding more signs maybe as people are coming in or like in an area. I mean, one thing you don't want to do is oversign everything, right? So I think it's probably going to be working with the parking division and just kind of tweaking and figuring things out. I mean, it has been 8 months. I mean, it's a big change from going from pay and display to pay by plate. And there are a lot more benefits that you get with pay by plate. So I think it's going to be kind of that learning curve. And I think promoting things on the web, I think handing out those brochures to just kind of educate people, and then just kind of the community becoming more and more educated about the interaction with the meters, so that it's not, I walk up to the meter, it's more of a knowledge base out there for working with the meter. But I think that that's going to come in time.
And the display part, that's another issue that we hear from folks, is that they have just gone back, got the license plate, come back, key it in. Now I have to walk back to the car again and display it on the windshield.
You don't have to do pay and display. So the beautiful thing about pay by plate is once you have that interaction with the meter, you're done. There is no need to display the receipt on the dash anymore. And then what we could do, if you're finding that that is a complaint, once the transaction is done on the screen, we can say, you do not have to display this receipt. So those are things that we can do so that the meter is also kind of spreading that message. And that's a simple programming change that we can put out. Another thing that we can do, and this is something that I would encourage you, is we can actually ask people if they want a receipt, so that might help. So like, do you want a receipt? If I don't need a receipt, then I don't have to go back to my car. So I think that having that receipt confirmation will actually save the city money, so you're not, using it on paper products. But I think that having that message that says you do not have to display this would probably help. And that's an easy change that we can facilitate.
And that becomes something that, as someone that utilizes those types of situations where they have to pay and display, it becomes habitual. So they interact with it, and second nature is to go and display it. So certainly whatever you guys can do to make that experience smoother will definitely help the visitors that have to interact with the machines.
No, absolutely. And it's a great change that we will implement.
With you talking about the signage, can we do something in regards to signage that says, remember to take your license plate number with you, or something like that, so people aren't walking back to their cars and coming back?
And we've got some sign examples of other organizations that have been doing pay-by-plate for quite some time that I will make sure that we get over to, just to kind of give you some ideas of what other organizations are doing, so that you could make a decision as to what signage that you want up.
I think it's great not to have to print that out, because that's less trash on the streets.
You're absolutely right.
So yes,
A lot
whatever
of
we
them are on
can.
the street.
Pardon?
A lot of them make it to the street and in the parks.
Yeah, but it's about maybe the 5th largest item. I mean, when you're
picking it,
the umbrellas and the other things, it's down the line. But yeah, that would be great.
And those are super simple changes that we can make. A lot of organizations are actually foregoing receipts altogether. So now you can, if you needed a receipt, it's typically for business travelers, you can get a receipt texted, sent via text message or email. So there are several large municipalities that are actually going printerless. So I think the city of Portland, Oregon, they factored it up, and I think within a day, because they were pay and display, they're also switching to pay by plate, 2 miles of receipt paper that they're going to be saving a day just from switching to pay and display to pay by plate and then going receiptless. So other things that you can think about, if you did want to, offer, no receipt and text messages, again, it's a simple configuration change. We would block out the printer, and it would save money on consumables. So I think that's why these kind of touch bases are nice, to kind of let you know what other organizations are doing and then kind of give you all your options for moving forward.
You could set it up that way, correct? Mm-hmm. So if you got it text to you or emailed to you, then you can go back and, because there's some people still want that piece of paper.
Right.
So then you can see where the majority, the same way you're looking at the credit card use versus cash use. And all.
Exactly. Another nice thing with the option to print a receipt, so making a receipt optional, you would be able to track that in the back office to see how many people are actually taking a receipt, and then it would give you the data that you would need in order to make an informed decision to say, you know what, we're going to forego receipts altogether. So all of that can be tracked, and all of those are simple changes that we can implement.
Question with regards to the display, being that 20% of males are colorblind, do you see any situation? Yeah, I'm blue-green, so. But have you seen any situations where communities have made some changes or modifications with the display consistent with that to make sure that, there's no issues?
We haven't. I was going to make a joke, like maybe it's because more women pay for parking, like the turtles. It hasn't ever been brought up. The nice thing is all of the colors are configurable. So if we did, see that it was a, not see.
I can't see it, so.
So if we, got information that it was an issue, it is something that we certainly could change the color saturation.
Any more questions? Ooh. Yeah, you do. Because we can't hear you.
And then you get this.
Yes, okay. Here, handicap, okay? They don't have to pay for parking, but people are being confused. So if there was something they could put on there that handicap do not have to pay for the parking spaces, because I noticed that's not on there.
That's not a problem.
Right.
So we do all of the, I wouldn't make that like you don't want too much information on the display or people just blank out and don't read all together.
Right.
But there's absolutely no reason. We do all of.
Can you use the microphone, please, so everybody can hear you?
We do all of the decals in-house, so we certainly could make a decal that just goes on the meter, somewhere that just says, you don't have to pay for handicap parking. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All righty. Now, okay, I'm from the Snack Shack, so I deal with this every day. There's not been 2 days go by in a row that a machine's not broke. And I have complaints every day. And they come up and they get angry at me. Okay, like it's my fault, and I know, and I explain, and I tell them that it's new, but there is always, always, always problems with them. So us, we're losing revenue because they're not working, because they go, well, I said, go over to the other machine. They're like, well, that one's not working either. I said, well, then I guess you don't have to pay. So there is an issue, so that is something we need to look into, because it's breaking all the time. Okay, so you can talk to your parking guys and see how they fix it or what, but there's been times it's gone down and it's not taking any money, it's not taking credit cards, coins or anything, either of the machines, and then I don't see anybody go and work on it, and maybe 4 hours later, all of a sudden it starts working. So I don't know how that's happening, but it could be an issue. I just know that there's a lot of problems and we get complaints every day. So something to look into. Okay, thank you.
No problem. So what we'll do is work with the parking division to identify and see kind of what cases have been logged, what type of preventative maintenance is being done. Billy certainly, works with Chris regularly, and if there are, major issues with the meter, we would love to get them resolved. Being the manufacturer, we're not the ones that come and do the maintenance and do the service, so as long as we know about them, and if it is something that is happening more often than not, then these are definitely concerns for us. And we will definitely go back and look at all the case logs and make sure that we get the issues resolved.
Can you come to the front, please? Thank you.
Also with the app, is there a way to make sure the money is going to Madeira Beach? Because I've had cases where people are like, oh, we paid and it's in California by accident. Like, does the app actually indicate City of Madeira Beach to make sure they're getting the money?
Absolutely. So, the Way to Park app, this is the zone number. So when you pull up, into the lot, you type in this zone number, the money goes directly into your merchant account. We don't keep the money, it goes directly into your merchant account. So I'm not sure how, unless someone typed in the wrong zone number and it was a California zone number. No, it goes directly into your merchant account. So as long as you type in the correct zone number, it also, with the GPS on, it would automatically locate you kind of in a zone, so that would be the zone that you would pick. So I haven't heard of that being an issue. Unless it was just a freak accident, just downloading the app on your phone, plugging in your information, and then you would have to put in the zone number. I don't know how that it happened. Freak accidents do happen in this, awesome realm of technology. But if it was a problem that the city could address with us, but we haven't heard it being an issue. So all of the zones are on all of the signage that is throughout all of the lots and in the parking areas. If GPS is on, as you pull into an area, it would automatically kind of locate you there. All of the meters within that zone have the zone number, as well as all of the signage in those areas have the zone number on it. So it's either you could type in the zone number, or the GPS on your phone will automatically log you into that zone.
Can we have the zones automatically put into the machine? So if it's at John's Pass over here at the shack, it's automatically in there and the people don't have to type it in or put it in. Can that be done?
Right, so this is on the mobile payment app. And so basically what happens is you pull into an area, your GPS is automatically going to put you in that area. So yeah.
Okay, I misunderstood.
Robert Preston, 425 South Bay Shore. Ever since these machines have been put in, we've had a point of contention with them. They've been problematic, it seems. People are having problems with it. So I don't know what the answer to that is. But the young lady spoke about community. When we talk about our community, everybody has a parking pass. So the people that you have to educate don't live here. They're the rest of Florida, they're the rest of the United States, they're Europe. So if it's not clear enough for them to understand what's going on, it's not working right. It's that simple. It should be just as simple as possible so that people can come up and pay. The simplest thing is to have a number on your parking spot. Remember that number, go to the meter and pay for it. The phone app, the elderly, whatever the case may be. Some of this stuff, technology sometimes gets us in trouble. And it looks like this is one of the things that's getting us in trouble. Thank you.
So I wanted to show the meter. So as you walk up to the meter, the light bar comes on and it automatically turns the meter on. So there's really no interaction that you have to have with the meter. Basically, it says here, enter your license plate number. So all I would do, it says confirm. The next thing I have to do is pay for my transaction. I do get that wrong every time. I should know better. It's going to ask me to select my time. I could have a max button, and all I have to do is hit the green button. It's validating the card. The card's valid. It's going to, at this point on the screen, it could say, do you want a receipt, yes or no? And then it could also say, you know, you don't have to put it back on your dash. But it really is that simple. You walk up to the machine, it tells you exactly what you need to do. One of the unfortunate things about kind of this technology world that we live in is people don't want to read any. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it really is that simple. It tells you step by step exactly what that, you know, what you should be expecting to do. Type in a license plate, pay, select your time, and that's it. I mean, we really can't make paying for parking any easier. You don't have to go back to your car, you know, to put your display on. And to your point, all the meters can do all options. So either pay and display, pay by space, or pay by plate. The problem is people will complain about, I didn't remember what my space number is, so then I had to walk back to get my space number, and then I go back to the meter. So it's one of those things. People are going to have fault and complain. It's one of the beautiful things that comes along with having paid parking on street. I mean, it is what it is. But I wanted to show you, because even, you know, you said you don't know how to interact with the meter. It really is that simple. So there's a cancel button. So when you type in your tag number, you can, there's a green button that says, I want to move to the next step. Or if you typed in your tag number and it was wrong, then you could hit the cancel button.
It was after they didn't realize it until they got the receipt out, because they had the receipt. And so I just wanted to put the receipt on the dashboard, but, you know, I didn't know. I didn't know if there was a way they could go in and cancel it or change it, or what I should instruct them to do.
Right. Once the transaction's complete, it's complete. You can't go back in unless you wanted to pay for a whole new parking session.
Can y'all hear the question?
I was always
Yeah.
told that you could go
Yes.
from one
Yes.
parking lot to another.
If you haven't used your
You
time
can,
up, you can move, right?
Yeah, so some organizations are different. So some organizations will do like a zone, like Detroit, for example. If you pay in one zone, then you can't move. It's my understanding that the city of Madeira Beach, it's the same pricing everywhere. So if you paid at 1 meter, you could, and you had time left on your tag, you could take it with you somewhere else, as long as the rates were the same. And again, those are organizational decisions. It's not a meter limitation.
Thank you, Natalie, for your presentation. I think it
And I
was,
think that answers Mr. Preston's question,
Very
too,
interesting.
about a parking number. If you have a parking number, let's say you're in spot 6 up here, then you wouldn't be able to take it to John's Pass.
Exactly.
right.
Versus the you know, in there.
Well, you're always going to have some people that do complain, like you say, and I think that a lot of it is people are too rushy. You know, they just want it to be so fast. So it is easy to read if you just read it.
Right.
You know,
It's
so,
3
and it is a
steps.
thing of the future, and it is a thing that has been successful, I think, for the most part. So, yeah. Any other comments?
I think that with the extra education, maybe working with the parking division to just make sure that we have those signs that say, don't forget,
Right.
you need to remember your license plate. Again, also understanding that it is a big change to go from pay and display to pay by plate. It's been a very successful 8 months, and it's going to continue to be, you know, a constant education process.
And also that little the small handicap decal would be.
Yes.
I think that was a very good point. Okay, yes.
And certainly, on behalf of the city, thank you for coming out and sharing this presentation with us. And the general fund thanks you for the $2.50. So we appreciate it.
I felt like you would like that. That's my big check,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yep, thank you.
Perfect.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you all very much.
Okay. Thank you. We'll get that flow bird off, okay. Walt, do you have any comments? No?
Just wanted to make one comment that there is another parking machine that's going to go in Archibald Park, or parking lot. And also, we've noticed, which was one of the purposes of going to the new machines, a drastic decline in the use of coinage and coins, and more people using the credit cards, which we like. And that will help save time and money for the city.
Good, thank you.
And by the way, so far through October to now, we've received about $1.7 million. So we're on track to exceed $2 million at the end of this fiscal year.
Thank you.
Hey, Walt, I have a question. Did y'all get the scanners to scan the tags?
Yes.
Okay, I haven't seen anybody use them, so I was just curious. Thank you.
Thank you. The next part of the agenda is public comment. If you want to come before the commission, please just step up to the podium and state your name and full address for the record. And please limit your comments to 3 minutes and don't include any topic that is on the agenda, because you'll have the opportunity to address any of those comments when the topic comes up. Yes.
Good evening, Robert Preston, 425 South Bayshore Drive. This is in reference to the August 20th meeting. And you have a total of 20 some odd charter changes, which I think is quite interesting in itself. Just for a little history, the Constitution of the United States was adopted in 1789, so it's 231 years old. There's 7 articles and 27 amendments. Of that 27, 10 are the Bill of Rights. Most of these amendments to the Constitution are meant to protect people's rights, people's organizations, and do not target people individually. The commissioners here seem that we need to make 20 some odd changes in our charter that's been operating for quite a long time. And to me, that seems quite ludicrous. One of the most outrageous changes is a supermajority. And that's a 4-to-1 vote. That's 80%. So one of the things to keep in mind, if you're going to impeach the governor, if you're going to impeach the president, which is a little bit on people's mind right now, the Congress, on a simple majority, votes to impeach. On a 2/3 vote of the Senate, ratifies that as a criminal intent to impeach. Nowhere is there 80% supermajority. They call the 2/3 in Congress a supermajority. That is what you have here normally, is a 3-2 vote. That's a 60%. 2/3 is 66%. So when you talk about supermajority, that is just totally out in left field, and I think that is terribly wrong. One of the quick things that I would like to say is that when you have this meeting on the 20th, is that you bring up each amendment separately and let people speak on each amendment separately as well, instead of taking them as a whole. I think that's very important to have community input. And these meetings need to be held at 7 p.m. and later so that people in this community, not just retired folks, can attend these meetings. Thank you.
Reese Noren, 363 Medallion Boulevard, your neighbor across the street at the yacht club. Vice Mayor and Commissioners, good evening, and again, thank you for the opportunity to speak. 3 minutes is probably longer than I should take, and I will never convince the Vice Mayor that I don't like the sound of my own voice, no matter what I say. But I do feel obliged to let the rest of the commissioners know that I had a meeting with the city manager, and I'm very grateful for that. And I told him I was not there to gripe, and then, of course, started to present him with my gripe, which I guess is nothing new to all of you, because you probably don't get a pat on the back as often as you get a complaint. But my problem, or complaint, whichever way you want to look at it, has to do with communications. A modern aircraft carrier is somewhat similar to this city in that there's 5,000 people, give or take. There's 85 divisions. There's 185 separate organizations, all charged with doing something from feeding the troops to flying the airplanes to maintaining the arresting gear or whatever. And we only have 3 problems on an aircraft carrier, of which I've been on 10. And the 3 problems are communications, communications, and communications. And that was the gist of my gripe to the city manager. I feel that communications are always a problem. It's not unique to this administration. It was, and as a matter of fact, I think the 3, perhaps 4 newest commissioners felt that they didn't have a significant voice from the prior administrations. And that might be true to them. I felt that we all had a voice because I went to all the meetings, and I didn't win when I objected, but at least I got to say my piece. And I felt that it was getting worse instead of better, but I'm delighted to see that they've hired somebody to solve the problem of communications, and I'm delighted to see the new bulletin board, because one of my gripes was the old bulletin board, which I counted on to see what was going on, and the last time I looked at it, it said that you had to fill the hole in the sand that you dug. You know, that's not very current. And it doesn't say anything about the meetings or workshops. I noticed in the last 2 weeks, our lighted sign is black. So it doesn't even say hello or why don't you read the website. I have trouble navigating the modern technology. I acknowledge that because I'm a dinosaur. I am an ex-fighter pilot. I am a degreed electrical engineer, and I did my graduate work in nuclear physics, but I'm a dinosaur, and I have trouble with the new technology. So anything you can do to improve communications, which is the goal of your city manager, I'm for. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay.
Loree Tyner, 4996 Miramar. I guess I'm long-winded today. Well, somebody had mentioned the red tide earlier, and of course, that's the topic of the conversation over in Archibald Park. Well, I have to tell you, the people have been talking about the red tide for the past 2 years, and the city is being complimented between Dave and Megan and Kenny. They're out there, they go multiple times up and down, whatever it needs it, and they clean the fish up. Okay, and compared to like TI or Reddington, they're like, there's fish everywhere and y'all don't have any. How do you not have any? And I said, because of our city, Public Works. And I said, so there's a lot of people that are relaying that to everybody, and I'm sure it will be the same way this year, but I just want y'all to hear positive word that is out there and going on. So everybody is very aware and very appreciative of it. So thank Public Works.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, then the public comment section of the agenda is closed. And the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. And on tonight's consent agenda, we have 8 sets of minutes for approval from May 15th, 2018 through July 11th, 2018. And then that's item A, and then item B is the approval of temporary designated acting city manager. Does anybody have any questions or corrections on the minutes? Would somebody make a motion to accept the minutes as, do you have any questions, Commissioner?
Madam Vice Mayor, the consent agenda is approved with one motion, so
Oh, okay.
unless you wanted to pull any items on that, when you make the motion, it would be to approve the entire consent agenda.
Okay, A and B. Okay, okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
As is.
Okay. City Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Douther,
Yes.
Commissioner Oakley,
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Weinstein.
Yes. Okay, and we are on to contracts and agreements. An update on the new website and authorization to proceed with contracted services, and that would be presented by Kurt, our public information specialist.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Mr. Evans, for the record, my name is Kurt Pricer. I am the Public Information Specialist for the City of Madeira Beach. Now, in May, the City Manager proposed to you the development of a new website for the city. He outlined his vision of a digital front door to the community, informed you that the projected cost for the project, and confirmed that funding is contained within the existing fiscal year 2018 budget. After discussion by you reached a consensus on moving forward with the project. Since that time, staff has secured agreements with Network People, the city's information technology support vendor, and Media Garage Group, a marketing and advertising firm based in St. Petersburg. Building a website is like building a house. I've done it before for other organizations, worked with a lot of great people doing it. You hire a contractor, in this case, Network People. You hire a painter and an interior decorator to make it look good. In this case, that would be Media Garage. Lastly, it's up to you, in this case, that would be staff, to provide direction during construction and then to maintain the house going forward, keep it up to shape. All right. So right now, this is what you currently have for your city website. You're all familiar with it. It does have some of its limitations, which is why we're looking at building a new website. There are a lot of new technologies that are out there, and I know we heard some discussion about technologies earlier today, but allow me to continue, and I'll try and assuage your fears with some of the technologies we're going to be putting into the website. Currently, the city actually has 3 websites. The main city website, a website for the marina, and a website for recreation. The plan is to bring all 3 of these websites into one website while still allowing authorized staff in each department to continue maintaining and updating their respective web pages. Development of a website has pretty much 6 primary stages. Number 1 is inventory and map the existing websites. As I said, the city has 3 of them. A detailed study of the analytics of the current website, who's visiting, how many people, what are they looking at. Soliciting feedback from staff and, most importantly, the community. We currently have an online survey. If you go to the existing website, you can click the survey button and take the survey. We're gathering feedback. That survey does close on Friday, so I would encourage everyone, including staff throughout the organization and visitors, that you don't have to be a resident. Anyone can go to the website and can give us their opinion on what they'd like to see and what they don't like. That's just as important. Next is number 4 is designing the aesthetics of the new website to incorporate the city's brand. We wanted to carry forward the brand that we are in the process of developing. The city already has a pretty solid brand. We're going to continue to develop that. It's an ocean community, a beachfront community, which everybody loves and enjoys. We're going to continue to support that brand. Performing extensive tests on the functions of the new website. This happens during the last stages of development of the website, making sure when you click a button it goes where it's supposed to go and it does what it's supposed to do. And then finally, developing an easy-to-use how-to videos that demonstrate the website. I got some marching orders tonight just by sitting here. The first how-to video we'll probably produce will be how to use the parking meters. And that will be right up there on the website, as will parking information right up there. I'll show you in just a moment why parking is going to take prominent space on the website. Right now, here's a little bit of information on what we currently have on the City of Madeira Beach. The City of Madeira Beach main website, 185 pages, more than 1,000 internal links, 398, almost 400 external links, 239 images, and 717 documents. It's a lot of information that's contained in this website. It doesn't mean it's really easy to get to. It's one of the reasons why we're building the new one. This is the Madeira Beach Marina website, much simpler, much smaller, very easy to find information. It has 5 pages, 5 internal links, 9 external links. The most popular item on this page, easily, what's the cost of gas for the boaters? And that gets updated by staff every day when it changes. So this site has pretty good following, particularly amongst the boating community. City of Madeira Beach Recreation website. This site is a large site. A lot of information available on this site. It's a very busy website right from the front page. 289 pages, almost 300 internal links, 840 external links, a lot of images, 26 documents. Most of the documents you saw, 717 I believe was the number, most of those belong to the clerk. There's records retention that's required by statute, so most of those belong to the clerk of the City of Madeira Beach. Now, the Marina website, excuse me, I lost place in my own comments, wasn't looking at it. Here's some numbers with regards to who, what, and where. These numbers were taken over the last July 12th, August 10th, as it tells you right there. We've had more than 9,000 visitors to the existing websites. Almost 6,500 were new visitors. Bounce rate, that number is a number that you want to be a bit lower than that. A bounce rate is somebody who comes into the website but doesn't click through, doesn't go through to any other information. They don't see what they're looking for right away, boom, they go off somewhere else. They do a Google search somewhere else for something. The average amount of time that a person spent on the website between those 2 dates, 1 minute and 53 seconds. These are called analytics, and we get them via Google, and I see the reports every week. I could see them every day if I wanted to. This will be key to designing the new website. What are people looking for? That's the next section you see right below there. Number 1 on the website, without a doubt, people want information on parking. Number 2 is jobs. Number 3 is attractions. What is there to do in Madeira Beach? You folks are very popular. You rank number 4 for what's going on with the Board of Commissioners. And then the building department. Of course, there's all kinds of questions with regards to permits and things like that, and contact information for building officials as well. Where are visitors coming from? This one kind of surprised me. You'll see that Madeira Beach is number 7. Local connections coming in here, but number 1 is Tampa, 2 Orlando, 3 St. Pete. You can see them right up there. I don't need to run through all of them for you. I was really kind of surprised that Madeira Beach did not rank higher than number 7, but we'll see what we can do about changing that with the new website, because I'm pretty sure the new website is going to be pretty popular once we get it going. All right, so where are we today? Staff has been working with Network People and Media Garage to develop the new website. The timeline encompasses a 120-day process. That takes us to about the middle of November before that's our target date for launching the new website. As I mentioned, the online survey closes on Friday. We're getting ready to schedule a community focus group so we can have some folks come in and we could put some stuff up on the screen with other community websites. What do they like? What don't they like? The more feedback that we can get, the better job and more accurate job we will do with designing the new website. It's definitely a scientific basis, without a doubt. There are some things that are actually cardinal rules with regards to designing websites. The website should be responsive. It needs to perform optimally for visitors, regardless of device. Everybody's working with a mobile device. So the same way the website appears on a computer screen for somebody sitting at home, it needs to appear or give the same information on a mobile device. That also includes a tablet. Tablets are actually mobile devices. They operate on the same operating systems primarily that smartphones do. It needs to be personalized. It needs to point users to services near them and connect them with the most relevant content. What are they looking for? They shouldn't have to click more than 3 times on a website to get to it. 2 is ideal. All right? It has to be transparent. This is definitely going to come into play with regards to the clerk and commission meetings. You know, financial and performance data should be readily available and displayed in easily digestible formats. It has to be data-driven. That's where those numbers that I just showed you on the previous screen are going to help us design the website. User behavior analytics need to be a key driver of development and the growth. The site will not be done in November. The website is never done. It's constantly evolving and changing. Cultures change, attitudes change, people's needs change. The website needs to change with it. And lastly, it needs to be engaged. Sites need to offer a variety of ways to connect with citizens, as well as proof that they're listening. One of the things that you're definitely going to see in the new website is going to be a lot more photographs, a lot more videos, short videos. Most videos will be under 2 minutes. How-to videos will be the first one. As I mentioned, parking, there'll also be a how-to video on how to navigate the website, where things are. How do you find what you're looking for? And who to contact if you can't find what you're looking for. Most of the time, that's going to be me. Now, the staff, that pretty much concludes my presentation. The staff recommendation is for the Board of Commissioners to approve funding for the project to allow it to continue to move forward. And I'm available to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Kurt. Questions? Any thoughts?
Have you had a lot of response on the survey?
As of last Friday, we had 36 respondents. I haven't checked the number today. I'm pretty sure it went up, though. I got word from somebody it had gone up. 36. Yeah.
That's not very many.
It's okay. If we get to 100, I'll be really good. That's a good sample. Between the online survey and then the focus group that we're going to do, I'm pretty confident that we're going to get a pretty good pulse from the community on what they'd like to see.
When is that?
We haven't scheduled it yet. We're still in the process of putting it together. We'll issue an open invitation to people. It'll be a lot like Commissioner Weinstein's talking tour, that type of thing.
I just make a motion that we approve the funding for the update new website and authorization to proceed with the contractual service.
I'll second.
You have to open up for public comment.
Right? Thank you very much. Thank you for asking, for telling me that. Yes.
Robert Preston, 425 South Bayshore Drive. Awesome presentation. If the website is as professional as you are sitting here at this desk, it ought to be wonderful. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments? Yes.
We'll be real short. Evening.
Thank you, Mr. Noren. Okay, well, we did have a motion and the motion was seconded, so the city clerk can read the roll.
Commissioner Douther?
Yes.
Commissioner Oakley?
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Weinstein?
Yes. Okay, the next item is...
Vice Mayor,
Whoops.
before we move on, why don't we take a couple-minute break? That way the parking meter people can get their parking meter rather than sit
All right.
through all of our stuff, and they can get out of here if they need to, and, you know, they want to take their thing and leave.
Okay, 7:19 now, so we'll start up again at 7:13. 11 minutes, right?
Okay.
Right? 7:30. Under the contracts and agreements also, and it's the Pinellas County Sheriff's fiscal year 2019 contract, and our city manager will address that along with the sheriff's office. Thank you.
Madam Vice Mayor, members of the board, we have Captain Liner from the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office that is here as well to answer any questions related to the contract renewal. The contract that is before you this evening is for a period of 1 year from October 1st, 2018 to expiring September 30th, or October 1st, 2018, expiring September 30th, 2019, for a amount a little over $1.2 million, which reflects an increase of 3.08%. Attached in this memorandum also shows you the full cost allocation associated with the contract with the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. One of the things that we did this year to offset some of the costs associated with the contract is that one specific day and one specific deputy on Saturdays is focused solely on enforcing the Florida Building Code. Based on that, staff utilize or will be utilizing monies from the building fund, which is a healthy and strong fund, to offset the cost for service. So the building fund will be transferring in essence $89,000 to offset the cost for the contract. The contract also calls for your deputies as well as your community policing officers, and then some other ancillary costs that you will see that are in the cost breakdown. So basically, the agreement stipulates the cost for apparatus, the cost for benefits, wages, etc., for the arrangement that we do have with the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department. One of the great things about having a arrangement that we do have, the sheriff has been gracious enough to assign a commanding officer, Captain Liner, to serve almost in that capacity of the chief of police if we had our own law enforcement agency here. So if there is any things that we would like as a board or as a community to enforce or do targeted enforcement, we have that opportunity, and we have an abundant amount of resources because we can tap into the resources that are available through the Sheriff's Department. So staff has not had any issues or any concerns related to the contract and is satisfied with the services that are being provided. And staff is recommending approval of the contract for an additional year. And Captain Leinert is here to address the board or provide any insight and perspective if you wish.
I got one question to start with. You said 1 day on the weekend, because the way it reads on the first page is that it's both days of the weekends. It says one contractual deputy is allocated exclusively for the weekends to ensure compliance with the Florida Building Code. That's just going to be Saturday?
It's for 1 day a weekend. There's no construction that's permitted on Sundays.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah.
Okay.
I have a couple of questions. The one that addresses community policing, okay, it says the sheriff further agrees to furnish one deputy specifically for performing community-oriented policing services. Such deputy shall be provided 5 days a week for 8 hours a day, blah, blah, blah. What I'm actually looking to get an answer to is the community deputy will perform interactive and proactive foot and bicycle patrols whenever transportation by a patrol vehicle is not necessary. It was always my assumption that, or in the last several years, that our deputy, our community policing, that was one of the prime responsibilities, was for getting out in the neighborhoods and for walking, okay, for walking the streets, especially, I live right in Johns Pass Village. And I personally have never, in a couple of years probably, even perhaps maybe at an event, seen a policing officer walking around. They're always in the vehicle. And I'm just wondering if there's been a change to that. Should it be enforced a little bit more? Shall we ask for that specific thing? Have y'all noticed that?
I haven't seen them walking the pass or
Right.
anywhere around.
I just think it's an excellent opportunity if it's called a community policing officer, that they're not in their vehicle. that they're accessible to people, and especially in the village, because there's a lot of times, I mean, I've looked at this report, for instance, that we got recently that shows a dramatic increase in a lot of criminal activity, and I'm just wondering if there's more presence, personal presence, that some of that could be eliminated.
Part of the, obviously, you hit the nail on the head. Part of the whole concept behind the community police is get out in the communities, get out and know people, get out and interact on a different level. I know they do, they'll walk around, they'll do bike patrols, they'll do car patrols. Excuse me. I know they do spend time in Johns Pass. Because when I talk to them, you got a lot of people, a lot of people visiting, a lot of shops and stuff like that. So I know they're out there. I do also, with the bike patrols, in addition to that, they'll ride in groups. So what you'll see is we'll have some unincorporated deputies will come down as well, because they'll tend to ride in a little pack. So, I mean, if there's specific times, I know they're out there, but if you're not seeing them, obviously we need a little more visibility. We can make some adjustments there as well. I know, just from Johns Pass in and of itself, that's obviously one of the places, also with the beach accesses as well.
Right.
So if maybe we got to do more, we can do more, we can adjust that, whatever.
Okay, and they might be there at night. I'm not saying that they're not there. They're just not there when I see them, okay? And I don't walk up there at night. But during the day, certainly they could be quite helpful to people.
They should be out there today as well. So, I mean, realistically, that's when all your shoppers are there, that's when all your visitors are there, and that's when you tend to have more issues, so.
Right. Are reports kept then, Captain, for instance, like reports saying that 25% of their time or 15% of their time should be allocated that way, or that's not necessary?
We have all kind of analytics that we have the ability to look into. I mean, realistically, one of the ways we do things are like directed patrol. So if we ever had a complaint of typically comes down to traffic. So we'd enter what's called a directed patrol where they would specifically log it. So we can do something like that just to kind of give you a little more feedback, so that way if they're out there and you're not seeing, at least we have something to say, yeah, they are. We also have our CAD, our mobile display, where they outcode on stuff, so we can pull that data in. But I think realistically, directed patrols are probably the best way to do it, because it specifically says make sure you're here, and then they document what they do.
Okay.
It's not like a huge report. They don't have to put it in the RMS system or anything like that. It's just something I just enter into CAD, or enter into our web, and they just document it right there. So we could do that to actually show what they're doing.
Okay, and also it has been brought to my attention several times that someone will, a vendor will just come in with a big table, okay, and just set up shop somewhere just set up and put their merchandise out, and I've seen it myself happen, and I know that I'm sure that the sheriff's department would be the individuals to contact to tell them to monitor that too, right?
Yeah. Anytime you have a specific complaint or concern or something like that, we're always the first stop, let us know, we'll figure it out type thing. If we go bleed over to code or something like that.
Okay,
You have code enforcement, so. Yeah, all we need in those cases is a call.
Okay.
And they'll take care of it, one way or the other.
I haven't seen the bikes in years. They used to be very visible all around town, and I haven't seen a policeman on a bike in years.
Okay. Well, we'll fix that.
Right.
I mean, I know they've had different various directives. I know they tends to fall off a little bit in the summer because of how hot it is.
I totally understand that, but it has been years since I've seen them, because I remember when they used to ride around.
We make adjustments.
And a lot of the cars had the bikes on the back of it, so they would stop their car, say at the pass, and ride around and things of that nature. I haven't seen it in a long.
Yeah, that's back when I was in community police for years, so that's when we used to have to mount those trunk apparatus that you couldn't get into the trunk. So it's a little different now. They got like those little, with the Tahoes, they have that little thing that comes out. Then they got to take it off to go through the car wash. So, and I think a lot of times they'll keep the bikes actually now at the city. So you don't see them transversing as much. I don't know how it's specific here. They might have it inside. But either way, I mean, if you're not seeing that, we can address that.
Madam Vice Mayor, in the time I've been here with the organization, I'm aware of the officers actually doing a bike patrol. So they have done it, but again, we can definitely make sure from a visibility perspective, maybe the frequency is something that we can adjust.
And you want that interaction. That's what they're there for. So we can take care of that.
Any other thoughts? Any comments from the public?
Thank you for your service. Robert Preston, 425 South Bay Shore. Not that I'm a troublemaker or cause problems, but I have had contact with our local officers quite a few times. They've been very professional. They may not be riding the bicycle, but they're in their cart and they go directly into places that are very visible. And every opportunity that I've had an opportunity to talk to them and voice my concerns, they've been readily available to take care of it. So I really appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Got another one coming up behind you.
Okay. I just want to say y'all do a great job for Archibald Park. We always see them. They always come up, check, make sure everything's going on. I see them talking to people on the beach, so we have a lot there, and we're really, really pleased with it, because if I ever need anything, they're right there. So thank you for a great job. Thank you, guys. We appreciate it very much.
Any other comments? Do you have anything else you'd like to say,
The whole
Captain
thing,
Lina?
obviously, we want to make sure we're providing the utmost highest level of law enforcement service. So if there is any issues, regardless how major, how minor, just let us know. If we need to make changes, we make changes. Just like you were talking on the website, it's evolving. So are we. So just let us know what you need, and we'll adjust to make it happen.
Good. Thank you very much. Anything else? Okay, well, thank you for the presentation, and I need a motion to accept the contract for the 2019 fiscal year.
I make a motion to approve the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office contract for 2019.
I'll second.
Thank you. Will the city clerk call the roll?
Commissioner Oakley?
Yes.
Commissioner Douther?
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Weinstein?
Yes. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the library interlocal agreement, and Walt Pierce, our finance director, will give that report.
Madam Vice Mayor and Commissioners, this is a Pinellas Public Library Cooperative, PPLC interlocal agreement between the City of Madeira Beach and Pinellas County. The interlocal agreement is attached for your review. Upon Commission approval, the signed agreement needs to be forwarded to the Board of County Commissioners, and it will be approved at their meeting, hopefully on September 25th. And then it will be effective October 1st and will expire on September 30th, 2023. So it is the recommendation to approve the library interlocal agreement.
Thank you, Director Pierce. Are there any comments on that? None? I'd just like to say something about it because Vince Gadrix, the library director, had given us a report at one of our one of our last meetings, and I thought that there were some significant points about the usage in Madeira Beach, and I'd just like to state that 25% of all the library's circulated materials were checked out by Madeira Beach residents in the last fiscal year, and there are approximately, well, he's given the approximate 4,368 residents in Madeira Beach, and out of that 4,300, 3,300 are registered library card holders, which I think is excellent. 77% of Madeira Beach residents have a library card from our Gulf Beaches Public Library. Madeira Beach accounts for 49% of library card holders as a whole, and comparing us with, for instance, Treasure Island has 6,800 residents, which accounts for 42% of the population in the 5 communities, but only 14% of the cardholders in the library are from Treasure Island. So I think we are using our library, and I'm real happy about that. That's all the comment I have. Is there any public comment on that?
No, we need to make a motion. motion first.
No, we didn't.
I thought we'd make the motion, then they talk.
Well, there's no public comment, so you can go ahead and make the motion.
No, I don't want to now. I'll make a motion that we accept the library interlocal agreement.
No, second.
City clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Douther?
Yes.
Commissioner Oakley?
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Weinstein?
Yes. Okay, and now we're on to new business. The first one is ordinance 2018-06, updating the parking code. Will the city clerk read the ordinance by title only?
Yes. Ordinance 2018-06. An ordinance of the City of Madeira Beach, Pinellas County, Florida, providing for amendment of Part 2, Code of Ordinances, Chapter 66, Traffic and Vehicles, Article 3, Stopping, Standing, Parking, 3, Division 1, generally, adding a section for prohibited on-street parking, providing for definitions, providing signage requirements, and providing for penalty and enforcement, providing for conflict, providing for severability, providing for an immediate effective date.
Thank you, City Clerk. Thank you, City Clerk. Comments?
We went over this pretty thoroughly.
We did.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, we went through every standing, stopping.
No, not everyone.
That wasn't that one?
Yeah, I think you did go over it thoroughly enough.
Yeah. So,
I would like to thank staff for diligently working on this and getting it together, and I hope that we're successful in getting our motion for the first reading over and going on to the next part of it. So are there any public comments with regards to this issue? Okay, may I have a motion?
I make a motion that we, on first reading of ordinance 2018-06 for the proposed amendment. We vote on that.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
City Clerk, call the roll.
Yes. Commissioner Oakley?
Yes.
Commissioner Douther?
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Weinstein?
Yes. Thank you. Okay, and the second ordinance is ordinance 2018-08, reaffirming the existing boundaries of election districts. Will the city clerk read this ordinance by title only?
Ordinance 2018-08, an ordinance of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, reaffirming the existing boundaries of said election districts within the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, contain a balance of electors that does not exceed a 15% difference in any district, by providing for reading by title only, by providing for repeal of ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith to the extent of such conflict, and by providing for an effective date. And Vice Mayor, this is my item, and I'll briefly read a little of my memo. In accordance with City Charter Section .2B, the Board of Commissioners is required by ordinance every 4 years to either change the existing boundaries of its election districts if there is an imbalance of electors exceeding 15% in any of the 4 districts, or to affirm that the existing boundaries contain a balance of electors in any district. And according to the registered voter report from the Supervisor of Elections of Pinellas County, there has been no significant changes in the number of electors in any of the 4 election districts during the period and in the last 4 years. That's the period from 2007 to actually 2018 during that period. And in the last 4 years, the city election districts has contained a balance of electors that does not exceed a 15% difference in any of the 4 districts. I prepared ordinance 2018-09 to reaffirm the old district boundaries. 08, 2018-08.
that's doing our due diligence, checking on it, and making sure that they're all an equal or close to an equal. I remember last time we had to change it was many, many years ago when they split up 140th, I think, wasn't it?
I don't know, there's one in here signed by Charlie Parker. So
Oh, that was a
what
long
does that
time
tell
ago,
you?
right? Right, okay. Any other comments?
Yeah, so, question, it says every 4 years, so, but if there's a drastic change in 2 years, then we would come back and redo it, correct?
Yes, the charter does provide for that we can do that. And then once in the 4 years, we can reaffirm that the same way, incorporating that in there.
Okay.
And I would like to say that if the ordinance is approved tonight, the advertisement will go out for the September the 4th regular meeting. As you recall, the September the 4th meeting is, the regular meeting was changed to the 4th due to the trim compliance requirements, so that it will be advertised accordingly for the September 4th meeting.
Right, it's not the second Tuesday, it's the first Tuesday of the month, right? Okay. Is there any public comment? Can we have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion to pass ordinance 2018-08.
I'll second.
Thank you. Will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Hodges?
Yes.
Commissioner Douther?
Yes.
Commissioner Oakley?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Weinstein?
Yes. Okay. The next item on the agenda is a resolution, and that's Resolution 2018-10, establishing and adopting a civility code. And our city clerk will read the by title only, please.
I choose to read Resolution 2018-10 in its entirety to explain about the civility code. A resolution of the City of Madeira Beach, Pinellas County, Florida, establishing and adopting a civility code, providing directions to the city clerk, providing for conflicts, providing the severability, and providing for an effective date. Whereas the open exchange of public discourse is essential to the democratic system of government and as a cornerstone of democracy, Americans have observed certain rules of behavior generally known as civility. Civility is an integral component of a productive, functioning society in which all people are treated as equals regardless of race, color, religion, gender, pregnancy, national origin, age, handicap, or marital status. And whereas displays of anger, rudeness, ridicule, impatience, lack of respect, and personal attacks detract from the open exchange of ideas, prevent fair discussion of the issues, and can discourage individuals from participation in government. And whereas civility can assist in reaching consensus on diverse issues and allow for mutually respectful ongoing relationship, and whereas the city, county, and local government law section of the Florida Bar urges the adoption of a pledge of civility by all citizens in the state of Florida. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of the City of Madeira Beach that civility pledge, the City of Madeira Beach will adopt the following civility pledge. And based on the conversation at the workshop, the last workshop, it was revised, and it's to say, pledge of civility. We will always show respect to one another. We will direct all comments to the issues before us. We will refrain from personal attacks. Section 2 of the resolution will direct the city clerk to provide civility pledge signage for the dais, podiums, and entrance of or lobby area of the City Commission chambers. Section 3 of the resolution, all resolutions made in conflict with the resolution are hereby repealed. And we have a severability clause. If any provision or portion of this resolution is declared by any court of competent jurisdiction to be void, unconstitutional, or unenforceable, then all remaining provisions or portions of this resolution shall remain in full effect, and the recommendation is to adopt the civility code resolution.
Comments from the board? I think we all discussed this also at great length and decided that it was a very good thing. So are there any comments from the audience? Can I have a motion to?
I make a motion that we approve Resolution 2018-10 Civility Code.
I'll second.
Thank you. Can we have a roll call on that?
Commissioner Oakley?
Yes.
Commissioner Douthat?
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Weinstein?
Yes. And the next item on the agenda is another resolution, 2018-11, adoption of legislative priorities. And Clara, would you please read that by title only?
Resolution 2018-11, a resolution of the City of Madeira Beach, Pinellas County, Florida, adopting top legislative priorities for fiscal year 2019 state legislative session.
Madam Vice Mayor and members of the Board of Commissioners, the item before you this evening is to establish the legislative priorities that were discussed at previous sessions with the board. Staff has compiled a resolution that speaks on a couple of issues. Those issues being to request a budget appropriation from the state legislature to assist in the repair or reconstruction of the sand groins here in our community. The sand groins were the first major bond issuance that the city embarked upon, and they are at the end of their useful life. And so staff would like direction from the board or support from the board to continuously advocate for a budget appropriation and reach out to members of our legislative delegation. Also, we've gotten a number of phone calls and communication from folks that live adjacent to our recreation complex and have complained specifically to the light pollution that is occurring with the ball field lighting. And so we want to see if there is any monies available both on the state or countywide level, but look to go to Tallahassee as well for some opportunities to assist us in repairing or replacing the lighting to make it more conducive to the setting that it's in because it abuts residential. Also, we do want to seek an appropriation for monies to assist in some of our stormwater infrastructure and our roadways, looking at anything that we can do to offset some of the major capital costs that the city will embark upon over the next couple of years based on staff's preliminary calculations. And we had the discussion as part of the CIP that Parsley Drive and Marguerite Drive, those are big projects that in the next couple of years will have to require a bond issuance for us to be able to address the roadway issues that we have in our community. So we definitely want to see about the possibility of receiving some monies from the state legislature. Director Pierce and I have had some conversations about the tourist development tax and how do we look to leverage an appropriation. That is going to be probably about a 2 or 3 year process, but nonetheless, we do want to try to attempt to get some monies from the tourist development tax and a state appropriation to have the matching funds. So this does not commit or bind the city in any way. It basically outlines what the marching orders of staff and the lobbyists that we have to go forward and see if we can effectively try to get some assistance from Tallahassee. Obviously, we know with last legislative session and the tragic incident that occurred in South Florida, a lot of the projects and initiatives that were coming before the legislature took a back seat, and rightfully so. So staff would like to breathe life to some of these legislative priorities. Having the board adopt this resolution puts some teeth behind it and allows for us to circulate this with members of our legislative delegation and says that these are some of the basics that our elected officials are looking for us to advocate for as part of the next legislative session. In this document, I also provided a breakdown of the process or what is going to happen in Tallahassee all the way after the primary elections into the general election, etc., because I can see opportunities whereby some of you as elected officials can make some trips with staff to Tallahassee to help advocate on our behalf, because the local delegation and your elected representatives love to hear from you, the policymakers. So staff is recommending approval of this resolution for the purposes of setting the legislative priorities for fiscal year 2019, and that is resolution 2018-11. Staff is recommending approval. Staff stands prepared to answer any questions.
Seems like the groins would be a no-brainer. I mean, they've saved our beach. They don't have to do the most expensive thing, which is re-nourish it by dredging. So, I mean, we've never had our beach re-nourished, I know of.
Well, what other communities, are there any other beach communities from Clearwater down through Treasure Island that have beach groins? There aren't, are there?
I don't, but
So
they've-
then
they've
how
all
does
been
that-
researched. They've all been.
Well, they've all been re-nourished, that's what they call it. Well, then how can our lobbyist, I mean, how can that lobbyist, when it's only just us, how can they push that kind of thing ahead?
Well,
What kind of?
the sales pitch, for lack of better terms, would be that because of the foresight of the individuals back in the 50s, late 40s, early 50s, it has saved the state of Florida and the federal government hundreds of thousands of dollars for beach renourishment. So by us as a community taking that action, we have seen our beach actually grow in height and width because of those sand groins. And if you look back, probably, I would say less than a year ago, our city attorney can probably opine on this, the folks in Lido Beach were advocating for some sand groins because of the erosion, the substantial erosion that they were having in Sarasota County. And so it's a tried and true methodology. It is something that a lot of communities are now looking at. And so for us, we're asking for an appropriation to effectively modernize the technology that we know works and save you hundreds, even millions of dollars holistically when you look at the grand scheme of things for 40 or 50 years if we're able to move forward with such a project. So we've had some good conversations with our lobbyists. There seems to be some interest, but until it gets past the governor, you know, anything is still up in the air. But we want to really push that as a priority project and provide some data that effectively shows that there's been some savings, substantial savings associated with the actions that were taken by a board, you know, more than 40, 50 years ago.
I think the groin things are wonderful. I guess what I was trying to get through my mind was if there's just one community and he kind of trying to lumps everything together, okay, or tries to get 2 or 3 communities so he can, I guess, get the best bang for his buck, you know.
Have some leverage.
Yeah,
That's right. That's the word. That's what I was looking for.
And then it's another situation whereby we can educate members of the legislature to say, hey, instead of going through and renourishing all these beaches, does it make sense to have sand groins as an effective tool, so we're not coming in here every 3 or 5 or 10 years to renourish these beaches. So hopefully the science and the technology will paint a picture that this is a worthwhile endeavor to consider.
Many cities are considering as part of their coastal resiliency programs, not so much in this West Coast, but on the East Coast, there's an 11 city and county compact for sea level rise and coastal resiliency. And they're coming up with adaptation action plans and groins and structures that will help minimize the beach renourishment costs are part of those action plans. That might be something that we bring forward in the future. I know University of Florida has reached out to us to see if we wanted to apply for a grant with them for a coastal resiliency project. That money is available too, so.
Even though it's a little bit the different spot. I don't know if Linda is still here now, but Linda Portal and I attended the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council yesterday, and they were talking about that very thing, and Linda brought back information for us to be able to look at and to go in and support that effort, okay, for that.
The
Which
groins
would
have to be, I mean, we were blessed because they chose right many years ago. The groins have to be specially selected and engineered and placed because sometimes there's concerns that while it's trapping sand in one area, it's not allowing sand to re-nourish further down current. So it has to be looked at by coastal engineers, very carefully.
Well, I think ours are going to get grandfathered in.
Right, right.
Yeah, ours are some of the good groins.
Right.
Bradenton Beach just redid their groins. I think it cost them over $1 million. And then Lido was involved in a challenge, so their groins are being held up for a little while.
Right, okay. Any other comments? Yes.
Guy.
Yes, Guy.
They're there because I built that.
I know that. You and Niagara Concrete.
Very good.
Also the jetty as well. That's correct. Thank you. Yes. Any other comments? Can we have a motion, please, for Resolution 2018-11? Sorry.
I make a motion that we approve Resolution 2018-11, City of Madeira Beach, legislative priorities.
Second.
Thank you, Nancy. Oh, Nancy seconded it. Thank you, Commissioner. City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Oakley?
Yes.
Commissioner Downton?
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Weinstein?
Yes. Okay, and the next item on the agenda, and the last item on the agenda is staff report surplus of old fire truck vehicle P25, and Jay Hatch will be giving us that presentation.
Good evening once again, Vice Mayor and Commissioners. This kind of came up from some internal conversations we've had between myself, the city manager, and the fire chief, a few other departments just for conversational purposes. But basically, we are seeking permission at the Recreation Center to potentially transfer the soon-to-be decommissioned fire truck to the Recreation Department. The intention would be to utilize it for under a City of Madeira Beach branding, not necessarily a fire department branding, but as a parade vehicle, mobile playground, and for special events and rentals. So we could take something that the city has invested a ton of money into over time and potentially turn it into something that we could continue or build into a revenue generator and also utilize to get more awareness in the community for different things, whether it's putting information about parking on it or recycling or using it for events that Clover attends or, the mobile playground as well, which is something I attached a few articles that has been done in some other cities. So just as a thought and ideas, alternative to just kind of offloading it for something that may not be a return as large as we expect. So basically, if you guys have any questions in the meantime, or just if there's something particular that sticks out to you that I can help either answer or give more information on. But I would love to, my staff and I, to take this a step further before we decide to just surplus it, maybe do some research, look for some public and private partnerships to help pay for any changes that we look to make to the truck and see what we can do.
How much is the truck worth?
Madam Vice Mayor, if I may, that is the concern that we do have, is that in most situations, and in my previous experience, we went to surplus a vehicle similar to one that we have here, a pumper truck, and when we had it go to auction, I believe it sold for $7,500. And so after experiencing that and thinking where we find ourselves, with this particular apparatus, our concern is that if we surplus the vehicle for $7,500 or $10,000, conceivably can we keep that vehicle, make some modifications to it, and actually add it as a unique inventory to our recreation programming aspects? There's some articles that the recreation director has provided as part of the backup that shows that a lot of communities have utilized this for a multitude of different things, from mobile playgrounds to block party machines to situation where you can have, if you serve beer, you can have the spigots in there and be able to do those types of, so it's a lot of creative opportunities that you have. And so staff said, and before we send it a surplus, let us work on putting together a plan as to what the cost would be, maybe to wrap the vehicle or make some improvements, et cetera, and then bring that for you to consider. But instead of just going ahead and surplusing it and getting pennies on the dollars, it could be something that can really set us apart. And if I'm not mistaken, Director Hatch, is there anyone remotely local around here?
One of the articles that I posted, City of Winter Park, which is over in Orlando, they utilize that one. The other one that was a recreation director who actually has done it in 3 separate cities. So he is, if we move forward with this, he's going to be my first contact to make sure that I'm, not going crazy and trying to do something that's impossible. But I just want to make sure that if we do explore it, it's responsible if we move forward and not just something we're throwing money at to do so.
And to that point also, one of the things, if we were to make some modifications and improve it, worst case situation is that we've actually added value to the asset that somebody will end up buying it on the free market. If you make some improvements to it, somebody that wants to go out tailgating invariably would love to buy a decommissioned fire truck. There is a market out there, and it's quite unique, and we just thought about the opportunities that if we had an event in Archibald Park, we can show up and the kids can climb in and climb out, and it can be a really good thing for our city that sets us apart. And we just would like to explore that opportunity if the board is willing to allow for us to do that. If not, we will just go through the regular surplus process to surplus the asset.
I would like to see investigate that. Excuse me. And also, I think the only thing that scares me about it is the liability. A child's climbing on it and falls and hurts themselves, or it's got to be monitored real closely. And that's the only thing that really kind of scares me about it. But other than that, I think it's a great idea. And, I think we should investigate it and see what we can do and, what our options are and bring it back to us.
I look at it as another one of those things that they're going to come to us and go, we don't want to pay for it, but we want it there. So I don't see any revenue value of it, actually.
Jay, who would be licensed to drive it? I mean, would it have to be someone, even though it's decommissioned, would it still have to be a fire personnel?
As far as my current staff stands, I could drive it right now, as well as one other member of the recreation staff. And then a lot of these cities, what they've done is they found retired bus drivers that are looking for temporary jobs, and they would just say somebody in Crystal Isle rented it out for a birthday party for their kid. They would just drive it out there, hang out with the vehicle, and ensure those safety precautions, and then drive it back. So.
Yeah, I think it would be critical when you build in the maintenance cost or the refurbishing of it into making it something else, that it also include what other communities have done, and when you're talking to these other, what they have done with the liability, with the, how they've handled the liability.
I think when you're...
Because that could be very expensive.
Investigating, I think Commissioner Oakley brought up a good point. Is this going to be a revenue loss or a revenue maker or a break even? I think we need to get all those kind of answers. What you anticipate, if using it for and the cost.
Yeah, what their history is, what other...
Yeah, and I've got planned discussions with our mechanic, the other cities that have done this, our insurance folks. I know that's always pretty much our go-to number one as far as any of these ideas. So, I'll make sure that I have details and information on every one of those. And if one of them, is strikingly out of the ballpark for us, then, we'll move on. We'll just...
Sounds fair enough.
What do you think, Nancy?
Yeah, I think it'd be worth checking into. Like you said, it's something different, and we can use it for all kinds of things, like you've listed. So, yeah, I think it'd be worth taking a look at just to get an idea as to what it would cost to make all the changes that we need to do. And then just move on from there.
Okay.
Thank you, Jay.
Oh, thank
Do you
you.
have any other comments? Mr. City Manager? None?
Under city manager, are we moving on to the report and correspondence section?
Yes, we are.
Oh, okay. Yes, just two items. In previous budget discussions with the Board of Commissioners, the conversation came up with regards to the grant that the city received for the docks here. And so staff needs to provide some finality to that, but we need to do that in a public forum whereby a motion, staff is recommending a motion whether we are to return the grant back to the granting entity or to proceed forward. But we wanted to be able to communicate that to the entity because we have to respond by the end of September. And the Director of Finance and I believe that consensus from the board is really not enough. We think we need action from the board to effectively say, to direct staff to return the money back to the granting entity. And so that is what we're asking if the board would consider that this evening. If you are not willing to consider that at this particular moment and you'd like some additional time, we can add it to the agenda for the August 20th meeting. But we definitely need some definitive action from the board to move on from that issue.
It can only be used for here.
That is correct.
At this time. Then I'd give it back to them. Well, let's do whatever we have to do to give it back to them.
That's what I think too, but we need a motion and to pass.
You want a motion?
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we return the grant to whoever the grantee is.
The originator.
Grantor. The originator for the docks that were going to be built at City Hall / Rock Park.
How many slips was there going to be on that?
I think it was a total of 53, Director Pierce?
Yes,
Great.
which I was amazed when I saw that.
And only got a $40,000 grant for it.
Right.
And I did ask, I did call the state in our contact with the grant to see if we could somehow, just as an option, transfer that to.
John's Pass?
Yeah, and no. It's specific to, when it was written specifically for here at City Center.
So you made a motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Okay. Any comment? Any public comment? Okay. City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Oakley?
Yes.
Commissioner Douther?
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Weinstein?
Yes.
The other item that I have is we have had conversations, individual conversations with each board member concerning the ongoing negotiations with the International Association of Firefighters. Tonight, I was going to request that the board and staff get into an executive session to discuss the terms and conditions of what a proposed agreement would be. But in my conversations with the city attorney and looking at the statute in a little bit more detail, we believe to err on the side of caution and not to recommend that we do go into executive session because of the language really speaks specifically to pending litigation in a situation whereby legal action is already filed to where you get the cover of a shade session. So what we will do is we will continue to negotiate in good faith with the firefighters union and then bring you up to speed individually on what is occurring. In the event that we believe that we're close to an agreement, we can bring those terms and conditions to the board at a workshop, but our hope is to get this resolved and ratified prior to the end of the fiscal year. So I know in some of the conversations that staff had with board members, we talked about the possibility of a SAGE session, but after discussions with the city attorney, we thought to err on the side of caution. We just would prefer to meet with you individually and talk with you about what staff's thinking as it relates to the agreement. And then when we get to a point where we believe the contract's in a good place, bring it to a workshop for discussion. And that concludes my comments for this evening.
Okay. Any other reports from any of the commission members? Okay. Gosh, I don't have anything either. No other comments? This meeting,
You did a really good job.
Oh, thank you, thank
doing this
you.
meeting tonight.
thank you. This meeting is adjourned at 8:20.
You would be proud.
Right? 8:21. Oh, it's at